Hello, friends. Welcome to Bold, a writing discussion to just get your day going and to get you thinking about writing and into that writing zone. Today we have with us Maren Anderson, who is the author of Sparks, the author of Fuzzy Logic, and the author of Awesome. Maren, good to see you today.
Great to see you, Kate.
Yay, I'm so happy you're here. I very specifically invited you to talk about one thing because you know that we could talk about 80,000 things.
Yeah,
So
give it
our right? So our one thing is hats. So what can you tell me about hats?
what can I tell you about hats? Well, hats is a working theory that I have that is the purpose of hats is to get people to write that fast finished first draft. So I'm a real evangelical for NaNoWriMo, which is where the crazy people in November write 50,000 words in 30 days, which is 1,667 words every day. And you, in order to do that, me at least, I cannot write and edit at the same time. I need to only write. And then later I edit the first draft. So this is a difficult thing for some people to separate because the editor is that little person in the back of your head who's telling you what you just wrote is terrible. You need to rewrite it. And the editor's probably right. It probably is terrible and you probably do need to rewrite it. You just don't need to do it right now. And so there's multiple ways of locking up the internal editor, but one way is with a hat. And I know people who literally, and I brought a prop, who literally put on a hat. This is my writing hat. As long as this hat's on my head, I am writing. And the editor does not talk. Whereas this would be my editing hat. And when this hat is on my head, I am editing. So that might seem silly, but I don't care if it's silly if it works, right? If you don't have, I also have so many of these guys. And so if the dragon's around, then maybe this is my writing dragon. And writing dragon is sitting next to my desk, staring at me, then I'm writing. But if llamacorn's there, then we're editing. Yay. Those are silly. It doesn't matter if it's silly if it works though. Some people just need a physical reminder that what I'm doing here is writing my first draft and the editor doesn't get to play. Then I let the editor out of her cage in the back of my head and all we do is edit. That is what works for me. And some people, sometimes including me, need a little reminders like, oh, we're not doing that thing. We're doing this thing right now.
Do you switch back and forth between different hats like on the same day, or do you go in projects where you're editing for a long time and then writing for a long time, or what do you do?
You know what, every book is different, just like every child is different. But in general, what I strive to do is I write a first draft blindly in a straight line forward. I even use sometimes, they are called word processors, and all they are keyboards with tiny little screens. And all you can do is see the 3 lines ahead so that I can't go back. I'm really committed to just getting that garbage first draft down so that then I can dive in and edit later. I do edit and write on the same day, but on different projects. I will have sometimes a novel going, but then I'll have something short that is in a different state. So I can do one or the other, but just not really on the same project. To the point where if I have, I've had characters switch genders on me in the middle of a book, in which case I put in square brackets, Bailey is a boy. And then I wrote in the rest of the book that Bailey is a boy, knowing that I will go back and fix that when I'm in the editing phase.
And I love that idea of just, and I do it too, of just point out what the edit is, what you're going to change, and then move on, and move on like you made that change already.
Right.
Which I'm sure if somebody read our first drafts, like our real first drafts, they would be like, what is even happening?
Nobody would read my first draft because nobody would know what is happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, thank heavens we live in this time because we can just, I put double square brackets around things that need to change, like Bailey's a boy. And I can find and replace I can just search for the double brackets and I can find all those edits that need to be done. And then I can find and replace Bailey and change the gender as I go along.
But only once you have that editing hat on, right?
Only when I have the editing hat on, because otherwise I will go and waste 3 days finding all of that information, and then I might kill Bailey off and decide I don't need that character, and then I just wasted a whole bunch of time.
So for you, it's a thing of like finishing the story, writing the story before you go back to the edits, because like exactly like you were saying, you might get to the end of the book and realize like Bailey isn't even a character that you want, and you don't want to waste your time with Bailey if Bailey's not even going to exist. Like,
Exactly.
poor
Yeah,
Bailey.
there's poor Bailey. Bailey has a hard time.
All right. Well, thank you, Maren. Thank you for explaining hats. And I know we're going to have you back to talk about other things soon too. But until then, like, keep wearing your hats because we love reading your books.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you for having me, and keep sending me dragons. They help.
Happy writing.
Happy writing.